Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2011 Fall Graduation Ceremonies. Please rise for the entrance of the 2011 University of Saskatchewan graduates.
Would the graduates in the front rows please turn and face the platform? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Fall Convocation 2011. Would you please join our vocalist, Jeremiah Scott, in the singing of O Canada, and then please remain standing for the invocation.
Please join me for a word of thanks and a word of prayer. Let us pray. Most gracious Creator, we give thanks on this day for many things. For the generosity of those who have helped us along the way, for the wisdom of those who teach and of those who learn, for the gifts of curiosity, discovery, and fresh insight, for all those things that have made study and learning to be a great challenge and a great joy. We are grateful for friends, family, and colleagues who have been our companions in the past and who go with us into each new day. As we go from this place, help us to move into the future with hope and to continue to bask in the wonder of the world that surrounds us. May our travels be safe. May we be a gift to those around us. And may all of our ways be ways of compassion and peace. Amen.
Would you please be seated? Again, welcome, graduands and distinguished guests. My name is Lee Pennock, and as the University Secretary, I have the honor of introducing to you the members of the colorful platform party that you see before you. Beginning in the front row at my left and your right, Russell Eisinger, Registrar and Director of Academic Services and Financial Assistance. Lawrence Martz, Dean of the College of Graduate Studies and Research. Peter Stoichev, Dean of the College of Arts and Science. Daphne Terrace, Dean of the Edwards School of Business. Gordon Debrisay, Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Science. Peter Bonham-Smith, Vice Dean of Science in the College of Arts and Science. Brett Fairbairn, Provost and Vice President Academic. Peter McKinnon, our President. Vera Pezer, our Chancellor. Desmond Morton, recipient this morning of the Honorary Doctor of Letters degree. Peter Lee, recipient this morning of the Earned Doctor of Letters degree. Elder Walter Linklater. Heather Magatu, Vice President, University Advancement. Karen Chad, Vice President, Research. The Reverend Paul Sardison, University Chaplain. Jason Abig, President of the Alumni Association. Dale Mickelon, President of the Retirees Association, and David Hanna, Associate Vice President for Student and Enrollment Services. And in the second row, Michael Atkinson, Executive Director of the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy. Harley Dickinson, Vice Dean of Social Science in the College of Arts and Science. Bill Wazer, Professor in the Department of History. Karsten Lieber, Executive Director of the School of Environment and Sustainability. Ryan Billicrelli, recipient this morning of the President's Service Award. Nola Burr, recipient today of the Award for Distinction in Outreach and Engagement. Li Zong, recipient of the J.W. George Ivany Internationalization Award. Carl Still, Dean of St. Thomas More College. Patty McDougall, Associate Dean of St. Thomas More College. Keith Willoughby, Associate Dean in the Edwards School of Business. Gary Standing, a member of the University of Saskatchewan Board of Governors. Scott Hitchings, President of the University of Saskatchewan Students' Union. And the following members of our University Senate: William Gulka, Leanne Abel, Faye Puckett, Judy Buzowetsky, Shirley Haynes, and Helga Felliner. And behind them, and I would ask them to stand, members of the faculty of the University of Saskatchewan. Would you please join me in expressing to all of these faculty, administrators, and members of our governing bodies our thanks for the work that they've done in supporting, teaching, and encouraging our graduates.
Would Desmond Morton please stand? Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you Desmond Morton. Desmond Morton is one of Canada's finest historians. He has spent more than 4 decades and written over 40 books explaining Canada's history to the general public. Morton embraced the social history revolution of the 1970s and 1980s, looking at the lives of everyday people, and produce engaging and authoritative studies on such topics as families on the home front during the Great War. His published work remains as vital and compelling today as when it first appeared. Desmond Morton believes that professional historians should communicate history to the general public in clear, lucid ways, in both official languages. He put this belief into practice as founding director of the McGill Institute for the Study of Canada. Indeed, Morton can always be counted upon to provide historical perspective on contemporary issues, and in doing so demonstrates why an understanding of history is so important in tackling today's challenges. Desmond Morton has been recognized in a number of ways, and deservedly so. Elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, named an Officer of the Order of Canada, and awarded the Pierre Burton Prize for popularizing Canadian history. He also served as president of the Canadian Historical Association. The real testament, though, to Desmond Morton the person is the encouragement he has unselfishly given to students of history over the years. He always, somehow, finds the time to read the work of younger historians, freely giving advice and criticism. And their writing, including my own, is better because of that care and support. Eminent Chancellor, I present to you Desmond Morton and ask that you confer on him the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of the province, and with the consent of the Senate of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, and invest you with all the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
I hope everyone understands what's happening here. You've worked patiently for years here and at high school. Now you yearn to collect a degree, diploma, and launch, or perhaps in some cases even relaunch your lives. All that stands between you and that diploma is me. And except for the odd genius in the group, and I'm sure there's some, you all worked hard to get here. All I had to do was answer my phone. Say yes. I have to admit that I did so eagerly. This is, and the last 2 days have proved it, a great time to be in Saskatoon, which remains, for me at least, the most beautiful of Western cities. I'd say that all the cities in Canada, but I don't dare. My wife is in the audience and she's from Montreal. This is my last chance to earn a degree from the most distinguished university in the West. I might even say in the whole country again, but my wife was a governor of McGill when I married her. It's a good thing to marry the boss, or even the boss's daughter, but members of this convocation who are married will understand why I hesitate to be extreme about the University of Saskatchewan, whatever my private feelings really are. Of course, when I said yes last June, it wasn't just for a degree. I had to deliver a speech. Various lengths were suggested. Otherwise, say what you like. Now, if you get bored, follow the advice I give my students when I start a course. Get up and discreetly walk out. And not too discreetly, because I want to notice you. Then it's likely I will try and shut up. If you don't want to do that, you're stuck. Now, old geezers like me lapse into autobiography. And here the temptation was uncontrollable because I believe I actually grew up in Saskatchewan. Yeah, they've admitted it. I was born in Calgary, next door. But I arrived in Regina in December of 1946. I remember it well. It was 40 degrees below, and my nose practically fell off. I was part of my dad's baggage when he came home from the war. He was a professional soldier, but he'd failed French at RMC, believe it or not, and the commandant allowed him to be commissioned in his old regiment, Lord Strathcona's Horse. His career took him to Winnipeg, Calgary, and Ottawa, frequent intervals. But in the process, he traveled the back roads and branch lines across Saskatchewan, training the militia. Joining the part-time military and earning a few bucks back in those days was about the only way folks in the Great Depression could actually lay their eyes on hard cash. In 1941, he took command of the Fort Garry Horse. On June 6, 1944, he landed with them at Juno Beach, led them all the way south to Falaise, slowly. He started the war as a captain and ended as a full colonel. They dropped him back to lieutenant colonel when the war ended. After all, there would be no more wars, right? Moving to Regina made him a full colonel again. We lived in an old army hut opposite the Regina Armory, separated only by the now parking lot, then Parade Square. It was not easy for my family. My mom was told that to get water soft enough to do the laundry, she'd have to buy a wash tub and melt ice. In our kitchen that winter, ice did not melt. Dressed in whatever Eaton's catalog prescribed for the prairie winter, I marched off to school in January. I found I was not welcome. They knew I was from the East. Corduroy breeches may have looked great to my mom. At Herkmer Public School, they marked me as a slimy Easterner. I didn't like corduroy breeches very much either, or the socks that were supposed to stay up and always fell down, but the kids were insulting my mom. I had principles too. One day, a gang of my peers followed me home with no good intent, I assure you. A milk van stopped. horse-drawn, of course. The driver hauled him up, got off his seat, and with a milk bottle advanced not on me, but on the crowd behind me. He said, "Who's going to get hit first?" The crowd didn't want to be hit first, and like bullies, I'm told, Will dispersed for another time. And there were other times. This may explain, my friends have told me, why I have an immoderate appreciation for working people. That guy, I thought, had saved my life. I think he only saved me from more later. The armories were important to me, too, because they were the locale in those days for all Regina's political rallies. So I got to listen to Louis Saint Laurent and M.J. Coldwell and Tommy Douglas. I didn't appreciate any of them as much as I did Charlie Williams, who was the mayor of Regina in those days, Douglas's Minister of Labor, and he gave jokes that were so corny I could, at the age of 10, entirely understand them. Dare I confess, well, my sister used to come along as chaperone, and she was humiliated by my guffaws. I really loved Charlie. I also, believe it or not, liked George Drew, who came as progressive conservative leader. My mother had danced with him once when she was a much younger woman, and George Drew was known as Gorgeous George. Now, I suspect now, I might think that his policies were about as infantile as Charlie's jokes. Cut taxes, get rich, lock up communists and criminals, and throw out the liberals. Not all of them bad ideas, but some of them a bit simplistic. Next day, I scurried up to the Tory campaign office on duty, wheedled a stack of leaflets out of the lady in charge, and delivered them door to door. One door opened to reveal Miss Nygaard, my grade 5 teacher at Herkimer School, and a loyal CCF'er. She reeled back. "Oh, you poor little boy," she said. I didn't feel poor, or I did feel little, I guess, compared to her. She was a lovely woman. She assumed that it was my father. All soldiers supposed to be conservative. He'd made me do it. No, I'd actually gone out on my own. And I continued. I finished the poll, went back to headquarters, prepared to do something more for the cause. The Tory lady in charge looked at me in some disgust, disappeared into the back office, and presently emerged with a 25-cent piece stuck in her fingers. That was my reward. Or was it a bribe? Or was it humiliation? I wasn't there as a paid mercenary. I was there as a volunteer for democracy. Well, I refused the coin. It represented 2.5 comic books in those days, and confessed that I was a Tory no more. Now, Miss Nygaard had more influence on me than she may have imagined. She forced us to read a textbook produced by Saskatchewan called The Lure of the West, which long before Bill Waser's marvelous volume told us kids that Saskatchewan was a unique human enterprise. More recently, my colleague Ian Mackay has been trying to persuade us that our quarrelsome rebels, Reds, and radicals, not to mention Wall Street occupiers, are looking for another way to live together and to live better. That belief was, I think, a common thread for the valiant men and women who challenged space and nature to create Saskatchewan, and who gave you a university capable of blessing you with a great education. That is not everybody's experience in this world, and it certainly isn't even universal in this country. You should be immensely grateful for those ancestors who put their personal self-interest aside a little bit to create a university as great as the one you have attended. Allow me to add that Saskatchewan's air allowed me to another form of education, an awareness of global civilization. In those days, if you could tune in the CBC transmitter at Watrous, you got Shakespeare, Bach, Aristophanes, all plugged into my chilly Regina bedroom. This was the day of CBC radio. a relay for the world and its culture into the room of anybody who would turn on a radio. It meant that I could hear Citizens Forum, CBC Wednesday night, and on Sundays, CBC Stage. They were designed to tell you what had ever happened in this world. And if there isn't a better incentive to become a historian, I don't know what it was. If I say, as I do, I grew up in Regina, adult radio played a part. Well, it didn't last forever. In 1949, my dad was shifted to Winnipeg. I'd finished grade 7 in this province. I didn't know that 1950, the year after we arrived, would be the first of Winnipeg's major floods since the 1820s. Manitoba kindly designated my dad flood controller, as if he could control the Red River. He thought it was a bit of a joke, but he could do something to help using the Canadian Armed Forces. Our school, which was on the bank of the Red River, was literally drowned, as was the University of Manitoba. And this university, up here in Saskatoon, offered us space in their brand new residence for agriculture students and in the classrooms of the old field husbandry building. And here we came, teachers, students, and to this day I remember the huge posters which instructed us on the origins of marquis and other species of wheat, oats, barley, and a plant you now call canola, but then was bluntly named rape. There's much else I recall from growing up in Saskatchewan. Those last 2 months, I think, were my university experience here or anywhere else. There were the ceaseless prairie winds, the splendor of sunsets and sunrises, the northern lights, and that peculiar feeling which I'd felt on my first day in the province, that your nose had suddenly lost contact with the rest of your head. Nor have I forgotten post-war inflation, when my mom sent me over to the KD Cafe in the neighborhood for a quart of milk and a loaf of bread, which in those days were 10 cents apiece. That was in January. By the end of the winter, they were 20 cents apiece. And my dad's salary had not risen a penny, as my mother pointed out. That was inflation for me as a kid. That was the beginning of understanding that economics matter as much as the past in drama, literature, and music. There's much else I could say about my youth, and I probably worn my welcome out just on that. My father was a soldier, as I've said. I had flat feet, though I didn't discover it until the Army had examined me medically about 16 times. The person noticed was the commandant at RMC. I just won the Rhodes Scholarship, first one post-war for RMC, and the commandant found out that I must have flat feet because when I marched in the parades, I wobbled from side to side. The poor man took the time to try and cure this problem in his office. My knees shaking, of course, I probably would have wobbled right over and fallen down, but nonetheless, I had to do it. So I became a civilian. Not directly, I served my years. I got the Canadian Forces decoration in the end, but I was going to be a civilian. I was never going to be Canada's first field marshal. Anything less wasn't good enough for me. No, sure, ha, ha. In this postmodern age, post-Marxian historians have forced thoughtful historians, I think, to think some of the absolute truths over again. I was invited by Mel Hurtig, an Edmonton book dealer and publisher you may have heard of, to write a short history of Canada. He phoned me from Edmonton, said, I want a book short enough, you buy at the Edmonton airport, it's finished by the time you get to Toronto. Okay, well, I do as I'm told. In that book and others, I depended not on my own wits, but on the genius of endless colleagues who'd made the same attempt to deal with aspects of Canada and the totality of Canada. It's a very complicated place. Two cultural nations, even Mr. Harper believes that, about 638 First Nations. If you call yourself a First Nation, as that, well, you were here before, the other nations that claim to be the founding countries. All this is complicated. How do you explain that to people who think, well, there must be Canadians somewhere? I don't know where. We're making it as we go along. Our future as Canadians is still far from certain. Maclean's reminded us this very year that we must share any claim we make to owning the North Pole with everybody else who claims to earn the North Pole. Our permeable southern border contains a political culture which couldn't even agree to find the money to pay its bills this year, except by squeezing out jobs and services from its poorest citizens. Were we as appalled as the builders of Saskatchewan surely would have been by these kinds of political choices. I want to conclude with an unfamiliar word and a problem for which you and your generation and your fellow citizens of this earth are going to have to find a solution. The word is French, and it's civisme, or more precisely, incivisme. In a positive way, civism means civic spirit. But what really preoccupies me for the rest of my little speech is its reverse. In French, incivisme, or uncivic spirit. The prod for this preoccupation came last September when my wife and I took a trip to the Balkans, down the Danube River. The Danube is really a great river. It flows up and down and around southern Europe through the area we call the Balkans. It's not much used, partly because the common feature of all the nations that have borders on the Danube, they hate each other. I think that's fair. They don't always say it, but their history over hundreds and thousands of years is of hostility, enmity, and various outbreaks of cruel violence which are remembered perfectly. You don't have to teach history to the people of that area. They grew up with it. I remember a CBC interviewer trying to get an explanation from a prominent, educated Serb why there was such trouble in Yugoslavia. He said, well, if you go back to 1384, the Battle of Kosovo, the CBC, typical Canadians, say, oh, let's forget about all that, let's get down to the present. He said, no, that's not where it started. It started back then. A victory by the Turks over the Christians was the basis, in his view, of everything that had happened since. Well, it made me wonder whether teaching history was such a great idea. Maybe you should live in innocence and ignorance. The Prime Minister wants you to think very hard now about the War of 1812. I think it was a wonderful war in one way, only one way. It was incredibly stupid, wasteful and everything else, but both sides have persuaded themselves each side won. So if you've won a war, you don't want to fight it again, eh? You've got all you want. Well, believe me, we are blessed that the Americans believe they won the War of 1812. You as Canadians, I trust, were told, we did. Don't tell anybody. That should be a state secret. Well, the Balkans would tell each other about it and then even, like us, invent a few more victories that we hadn't heard of. We found that our guides, who met us at every landing, were well informed, unanimous about the marvels of their own country and civilization. They had their own heroes. Serbia, of course, had Mr. Djokovic, the world's tennis champion that year. It was great. Everything, except they would agree on another thing. Being ruled by the communists was terrible. Being ruled by the people who replaced the communists was probably a little bit worse. And the evidence of that was sadly evident. We drove, as it happened, after going as far down the Danube as we could, in Bulgaria, not one of the world's richest countries. In every village, there was a factory. The factory had been abandoned. How'd you know that? Because all the windows had been smashed in. And the workers had gone looking for jobs in Western Europe. They weren't there anymore. A lot of private houses were smashed up the same way. Nobody was living in them. It was a very, very sad sight. And so was the trash along the road. Just virtually unlimited trash. Nobody collected it. Even on the Danube, which is a really wonderful river. I remember one day as our cruise boat went down, some of the passengers were up on deck and they said, "Look at all the wildfowl, birds everywhere." Well, as we got closer to those flocks, we found out that they were half-filled, water-filled wine bottles. Had just been thrown in and filled up with water. But when a wine bottle fills up, the neck is still perching above the water, and you could imagine it was a bird from a distance. Plastic water bottles half filled with water. Who was picking them up? Well, whose side was it on? Why would you go out and pick up somebody else's trash? It's not going to do you any good, is it? Under communism, people had jobs, pensions, health care, at least up to the age of 60. After 60, you didn't get any in Romania or Bulgaria. They had at least shared ownership of their homes. The state owned the house, but you were supposed to look after it. That was mostly gone. The land had been sold to people. Some countries it was to the rich, who'd gotten rich out of the communists. In other countries, it was just to anybody who lined up for it. So you might find yourself going back to the family farm and discovering that somebody else now owned it. Imagine that for morale. Imagine getting to work on the harvest when it wasn't your harvest anymore. State assets had sometimes been shared. They'd usually been sold off to people who'd stolen the money to get rich during the communist years. What now prevailed was a corrupt, me-first edition of capitalism, which would, I think, even make Wall Street people feel badly if they wanted to know. What I found was institutionalized incivism. Everywhere we were warned to watch out for thieves, pickpockets, price gouging. Everywhere we saw those broken windows and the uncollected trash. I came home with a mixture of sorrow for these people and relief that we were not part of it. And coming to Saskatoon is easy to remind yourself how much civism there is in this city, how beautiful it was kept over many years and over an enormous population expansion, how people here are nice, they talk to you, they answer questions, they'll tell you the stories that are most affecting them. It's really a wonderful place to come back to. Yes, I know it has its problems, so do we all. Those problems are part of your heritage and responsibility, is my message. Your problems are the problems of incivism, of me-first life and values. If you want to live in a pleasant place, you have to put yourself apart from that kind of me-firstism and think about others. That's not a popular message these days. That message has inspired the Tea Party in the United States. The only thing I can say about the Tea Party is it hasn't happened here yet. And I don't think it'll ever happen in Saskatchewan because of your traditions, your heritage of civism, but it could if you let it. In fact, last Tuesday, the Globe and Mail ran a story, if you read that newspaper, from a small Chinese city where surveillance videos had picked up an incident that reverberated across that vast country. The camera had spotted a little girl in red tights with no parents or guardian in sight, who suddenly crossed what she didn't know but was a very busy road. In the camera, you could see a large white van scooting through the crowded street and whamming into that girl. The driver stopped. Then, fearing for his own benefit, backed onto the child, and drove away again. Minutes passed. Nobody in that crowded street stepped into it to pick up the girl. Another van came and ran over her. Didn't stop, just kept on going. And finally, after about 15 minutes, a ragged old woman in the market to shop stops, spots the body, and crosses into the street to drag it free. Nobody else had bothered. It was the poorest woman the television camera displayed, and she had done her civic duty. She cared. No one else had seemed to. All sorts of reasons. I'm busy. I got to remember to bring the horses home. My kids are waiting. Whatever the reasons. And I can imagine them, and so can you. Out of hundreds who passed, only one person had shown the kind of compassion for a fellow human being that she showed. To be fair, the Chinese reaction across the country as they hear this story has been both horror and guilt. Is this where their modern post-communist Chinese society is heading? Really, did nobody care? And you should ask yourself, would it have been different here in Saskatoon or Swift Current or Melfort? Of course, we would have taken some steps. We'd have done something. Are you utterly certain that it would have been you? If you have only one memory of this convocation, I would ask you to stick the word civisme as a French word which has an opposite. It's incivisme. Those two words, one the opposite of the other, might stick with you. So the next time the challenge of maybe just going out of your way a little bit will not come as a surprise, it'll come to you as an opportunity. An opportunity to make this society just a little bit better. That's a little bit better is not a great deal, but a whole lot of people, this whole room, doing something a little bit better is really transformative and enlarging. So that's the message of this convocation address. I wish you luck. I wish you will participate in it. Thank you.
Ask Peter Lee to stand. It's my great pleasure to present to you Dr. Peter S. Lee, the 2011 recipient of the earned degree of Doctor of Letters. This degree is conferred on faculty members and alumni of the University of Saskatchewan who have created significant new knowledge and are recognized as outstanding scholars by their peers. Dr. Lee is a professor of sociology at the University of Saskatchewan. He received a BA from the University of Hawaii in 1971 and an MA and PhD from Northwestern University in 1972 and 75, respectively. He joined the University of Saskatchewan in 1975. His research areas are race and ethnicity, immigration, Chinese Canadians, and multiculturalism. He's published 10 books, including The Chinese in Canada, The Making of Post-War Canada, and Destination Canada. He has also published some 50 papers in refereed journals and 32 book chapters. Dr. Lee has served his country and his profession in many ways. He was president of the Canadian Sociology Association, editor of the Journal of International Migration and Integration, a founding member of the Prairie Metropolis Center and vice president of the International Society for the Study of Chinese Overseas. During the 1994 National Consultation on Immigration, he was appointed by the Minister of Immigration as co-chair of a national expert panel on immigrant integration. And in 2005 was appointed by the Governor and Council in Canada as a director of the International Center for Human Rights and Democratic Development. His academic achievement is highlighted in his citation from the Royal Society of Canada. Peter Lee is a leading sociologist whose work on the Chinese in Canada, immigration, and race relations has greatly influenced academic thinking and policy development. His prolific writings on the Chinese of Canada have produced a new perspective in studying racial minorities, and a body of knowledge that became the basis of the Chinese head tax redress. His influential writings on immigration explain many aspects of immigrant life, including self-employment, entrepreneurship, economic integration, and racial inequality. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you Dr. Peter Lee and ask that you confer on him the earned degree of Doctor of Letters.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of the province, and with the consent of the council of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Letters and invest you with all the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
Eminent Chancellor, Elder Linklater, distinguished guests, members of the graduating class, ladies and gentlemen. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the University of Saskatchewan's first convocation. On May 1st, 1912, the first graduates of our university assembled at Nutana Collegiate in the presence of families and friends and faculty and staff. Bachelor of Arts degrees were conferred upon 7 graduates, and other awards and honors were announced. The first president, Walter Murray, presented the annual report, and our first chancellor, Edward Ludlow Wetmore, addressed the graduates. On this 100th anniversary, we assemble in this fine hall not in one ceremony, but in 8, in the spring and in the fall, to confer more than 3,500 degrees in one of the broadest ranges of disciplines and programs available in Canada across 13 colleges and 3 graduate schools. What a great occasion this is. And so welcome to Fall Convocation 2011. Welcome successful graduates in Arts and Science, Edwards School of Business, School of the Environment and Sustainability, and the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy. I would like to especially welcome the families of the graduates that are assembled today. We're delighted to have you with us. We share your pride, and we thank you very much for being here. I hope that as you receive your degrees today, you are reminded that you are not simply newly hooded holders of bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degrees. I hope that you are reminded that your degrees mark your belonging to an intellectual tradition that has its roots in the timeless values of the Academy. In their reflections on the role of universities in the 21st century, the authors of the Glion Declaration identified those values in these words: "In a society of shifting goals and uncertain values, the university must stand for something more than accurate data and reliable information, more even than useful knowledge and dependable standards. The university is the custodian, not only of knowledge, but also of the values on which that knowledge depends, not only of professional skills, but also of the ethical obligations that underlie those professional skills, not only of scholarly inquiry, disciplined learning, and broad understanding, but also of the means that make inquiry, learning, and understanding possible. In its institutional life and its professional activities, the university must reaffirm that integrity is the requirement, excellence the standard, rationality the means, community the context, civility the attitude, openness the relationship, and responsibility the obligation upon which its own existence and knowledge itself depend. Excellence, rationality, community, civility, openness, and responsibility. Strong values for universities, strong values for our graduates. This morning, we welcome and salute the graduates of the College of Arts and Science, the Edwards School of Business, the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School, and the School of the Environment and Sustainability. The College of Arts and Science is home for what for centuries has been known as liberal education. It refines and nurtures vital skills and talents. We need creative thinkers. We need people who are comfortable with decisions in a wide context. We need people who can communicate, reason, create, write, and speak. In short, we need leaders, and an education in arts and science nurtures leadership. Literacy, mature literacy, the art of reflective inquiry communicated to one's fellow citizens, that is the single most important attribute of your education. Society needs your wisdom. We need informed thinkers, citizens, and policymakers, and we need to nourish and celebrate the kind of education that contributes to their formation. The humanities and social sciences, the natural sciences, and the fine arts are at the core of this kind of education, and I congratulate you, the graduates of the College of Arts and Science, for your success in this formative tradition of education. There is wisdom in the arrangement of today's convocation ceremony because the program of study for business students has always required a significant portion of the coursework to be taken in the College of Arts and Science to ensure an educational experience with the breadth and critical analysis that characterizes a liberal arts education. As a former dean of the Edwards School observed, a business degree is really an applied social science degree that sits atop core competencies in math and economics and in psychology and sociology, supplemented with policy studies, history, and studies in ethics. Indeed, the collaboration between these two academic units is reciprocal. Just as a liberal education is a core foundation for the depth and rigor of a business education, so too arts and science students are appropriately exposed to business courses. We can imagine a science student seeking to commercialize a discovery, or a fine arts student seeking to own and manage an art gallery. Entrepreneurship may contribute to the success of our graduates in a broad range of fields. The Edwards School of Business plays an increasingly important role in several of our colleges, and we are all proud of its progress. Today, our graduates in arts and science and in business are joined by graduates of two of our new interdisciplinary graduate schools. Most of you in this auditorium have experienced the great beauty of our campus, and we are justly proud of our academic home. But the walls of our stately buildings can sometimes be metaphors for the limits of our conversations. That is why in our new Health Sciences Center, the spectacular new building under construction on the corner of College and Wiggins, we are bringing medicine, nursing, pharmacy and nutrition, dentistry, physical therapy, and the new School of Public Health together in one complex to practice a new interprofessional and highly collaborative model of health sciences education. That is why we have established the School of Environment and Sustainability and the Johnson Shoyama School of Public Policy to bring scholars together from different disciplines to do work that is better done across the boundaries of several disciplines. These two new graduate schools have a vital place in our future, and we are very pleased with their progress to date. And so there is much to celebrate, but dear graduates, it is particularly for your achievements that we are assembled this morning. I know that your achievements represent thoughtfulness, determination, struggle, and a fair measure of anxiety. But you are here, and you deserve to be. Congratulations and very best wishes in the future.
Graduates, in just a few moments, I will formally petition the Chancellor to admit you to your degrees and certificates. Then I will invite you to come forward to the platform. As you near the first podium, please stop and face the audience as the hood will be put over your shoulders. Once you've been hooded, then you proceed to the first podium where the Dean or Associate Dean of your college will present each of you by name. Once your name has been announced, you may proceed to shake the Chancellor's hand, and the Chancellor will then tell you that you have been admitted to the Convocation of the University of Saskatchewan. You will then continue across the platform to be greeted by the President and to receive your parchment from him. As you go down the steps, you'll be welcomed as new members of the University of Saskatchewan Alumni Association by a member of the association. Eminent Chancellor, Mr. President, members of the University Senate and Board, I present to you the petition of the Council of this university that the candidates to be named, having fulfilled all of the requirements of the bylaws, may, with your permission, be admitted to the degrees and certificates to which they are entitled.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of the province, and with the consent of the council of this university, I consent to admit you to the degrees and certificates to which you are entitled, and to invest you with all the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
Would the graduands in the front row please rise and come to the platform?
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Arts, 3-year. And I present to you Dana Brienne Andre with distinction. Adrian Sarah Ballantyne. Liana Louise Carr. Lee Chen. Kaylee Ashton Christensen. Haley Jordan Cor Claire. Bianca Melanie Fontaine. Andrew Joseph Glum. Cheer up. Bad joke. Kelly Lee Goslin. Amy Nicole Harper. Lee Kang.
Thank you. I'm going to have the card. Thank you.
Marcel Lee Kay. Yes, this way.
Hi. Congratulations. Kostock.
Hannah Louise Kostock. Elaine Louise Kraus. Justin Zachary Francis Lanier.
Congratulations.
I hope you're watching this. Yeah. Amy Lauren Leslie.
Hi. Congratulations.
Ashley Nikki Ann Mattern.
Hey, congratulations. Genevieve.
Genevieve Marion McDonald. Sandra Susan Morin.
Thank you. Hi. Congratulations.
Chad Michael Ryan.
Hey, congratulations.
Teresa Lynn Maria Taylor. Gregory Daniel Torwald. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Arts 3-year, but not just yet, because first I have to introduce Krishan James Verma. Thank you. And now, please, thank me and congratulating all. You know what, let's see. Thank you. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Arts 4-year. Kirk Thomas Bors. Congratulations. Thank you. Yao Chen. Jane Nicole Drackett. Jessica Dawn Fisher with distinction. Kristen Rose Friday. Thank you. Marina Garasimova. Kylie Alicia Honorowski. Thank you. Joanna Colleen Jackal with distinction. Landon Alexander Jackal with distinction. Congratulations. Margaret Lynn Jones. Congratulations. Taryn Brandy Leanne Lang. Oyemi Ibrahim Lawal. Congratulations. Tanis Patrice Mackey. Ashley Dawn Renier Matheson. Jenna Rosaline McMullen with distinction. Karen Lynn Palabroda. Nicole Pinto Pereira. Shelley Jane Potts Wiggets. Christopher John Frederick Ray with great distinction. Warren John Sandbeck. Ryan Charles Schmidt. Kayla Renee Scholar. Satoshi Shibata. Heidi Lynn Saint-Amand. David Norman Keith Thompson with distinction. Kira Amy Vors. Charles Francis Rain Whiteman. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Li Yan. Thank you. To you. To you. And please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of the Bachelor of Arts 4-year.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors. Matthew Robert Argent. Bonnie Ann Conley, High Honors. Christopher Cameron Cooper. Thanks. Congratulations. Face the crowd. Scott Drew Cassie Dumonceau. Yeah, congratulations. Justin David Fisher, High Honors. Scott Raymond Gately. Thanks. Congratulations. Thank you. Lyle Richard Michael Goldie. Thanks. Congratulations. I want to face the crowd. Lance U. William Hamill, High Honors. Jordan William Hartshorn. Congratulations. Kimberly Ray Cargett, High Honors. Hi. Congratulations. Thank you. Ryan James Kemp. Pamela D. Larson. Congratulations. Yishao Liu, High Honors. Congratulations. Olenek. Farron Jean Annie Olenek. Xiao Yu Qi. Thank you. Lee Mark Rini. Galen Robert Richardson, High Honors. Jolissa Brandy Simon. Chester Arthur Ty, High Honors. Congratulations. Susan Ann Wells Verbecki, High Honors.
Lillian Awando Weche Yongo. Congratulations. Stacey Ann Zip. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Science 3-year. Spencer Grant Hertz. Beshma Kulartni. Anish Stephen Mann, great distinction. James Ray McKnight. Krista Aaron Renee McMillan. Thanks. Congratulations. Stuart William Meyer. Congratulations. Martina Magdalena Mudry, great distinction. Congratulations. Stephanie Elizabeth Nyberg, distinction. Sachin Vijay Trivedi, great distinction. Congratulations. Raylene Christine Wilms. Jasmine Jia Zhang. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science 3-year.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Science 4-year. Sean Russell Bird. Avery Lennon Klein. Gina Hussain Diab. Obokuwu Aruru. Derek William Finney. Daniel Jean Gerger. Sarait Aclasia Gabra. Kirsten Rosalie Kalish. Samantha Marie Tamara Lakash. Lindsay Lerner with great distinction. Stephanie Gladys Ann Lebrecht. Boris Mitchell Charles Mamchur. Renee Marie Rude. Amit Sharma. Anita Dion Strong. Laura Dawn Surkan. Travis Zane Zwituka. Gert Benjamin Van Heerden with great distinction. Branislav Zradkovic, with great distinction. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science 4-year. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Science Honours. Choi Kwir Alu. Bradley Michael Chaharan. Sean Michael Grishchuk with high honours. Sean Gabriel Loveran. Erica Denise Pates. Colin John Sagansky. Stephen Ivica Skukan. Amir Taharian with high honours. Christine Grace Yaholnitsky. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science Honours. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Fine Arts. Alexandria Antona Hartshorn with great distinction. James Aaron Heinrichs with great distinction. Carrie Ann McCrae with distinction. Joshua Peter Franklin Ramsden with distinction. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Science, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Music. Mark Albert Schaefer. And please join me in congratulating the recipient of the degree of Bachelor of Music. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you confer on them the degree of Master of Arts. Ellen Denise Lee Miller Aktimichuk. Perry Lane Blomquist. Tara Ann Chambers. How are you doing? Good. Chelsea Catherine Cox. Nicola Sabrina Chopin. Jennifer Elizabeth Creighton. Augustine Annan Frimpong. Augustine Anani Frimpong. Brandy Ray Gardner. Felicia Deirdre Gay. Janelle Christine Hutchinson. Lisa Morgan Johnson. Tony Carlson Kay. Jessica McCutcheon. Bruce Ardle Martin Paprosky. Daniel William Robertson. Bradley Michael Sheely. Tariq Muhammad Sharir. Claudia Siminska. Karen Sue Tate. Lee Bergen Todd. Rian Van Yerda. Petra Vieldiova. Dan Zhao. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Master of Arts in the College of Graduate Studies and Research. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the College of Arts and Science and ask that you confer on them the degree of Master of Science. Bassi Epkenyang Bassi. Paul Francis Bezlewski. Xiaono Gantan. Daria Korneva. Ian James Livingston. Sarah Heather Lowe. Andrei Olenov. Dawn Yvonne Pratt. Thomas Schoen. Jin Zhang. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Master of Science in the College of Graduate Studies and Research.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the Edwards School of Business, I present to you these scholars and ask that you confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Commerce. Yeah. I present to you Saif Shakil Akhtar. Zheng Yan Chen. Shun Chuan Chu with great distinction. Benjamin Derek Clark. Carolyn Michelle Dunn. Hu Zhaoxi Gao. Nicole Marie Hanna. Melissa Francine Hoffman. Yu Hu. William Luke Cutney. Yang Liu. Timothy Thomas Maxwell. Landon Ellis McTavish. Charles Nagoyan. Emile Peeve. Christine Marie Rudnetsky. Lindsay May Sanderson with great distinction. Marla Dawn Suzalo. Keith Y. Sang. Stephanie Edna Ulm. Organizer of JDC West. Kelsey Danielle Vossen. Matthew James Walker. Jing Wang. Junting Wen. Ming Yang with distinction. Jennifer Young Rattray. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty, I'm being not handed the right cards, but on behalf of the Edwards School of Business, I presented to you the recipients and ask that you confer upon them the degree of Bachelor of Commerce. Now, Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the Edwards School of Business and ask that you confer upon them the degree of Master of Business Administration. Lawrence Douglas Bertollet. Jeanette Leanne Bowden. Justin Edwin Mark Baum. Close. Ka Wen Sheng. Rory James Duncan. Justin Howard Enns. Joseph Fred. Derek Joseph Gross. Rachel Amber Heidecker. Ashala D. Jacobson. Tian Huan Jin. Nikhil Kushal. Susanna Lazik. Close. Xing Li. Yinan Li. Sohail Mal. Kelly Christine Amanda Martin. Harrison John Hughes McTavish. Tasneem Mullah. Nicholas Sean Scott O'Brien. Anto Libin Palani. Whitney Somerville. Tanu Sood. Venkat Subramonian. Drew Jonathan Svensson. Jingho Wang. Joshua J. Wells. Sean Patrick Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, Eminent Chancellor, please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Masters of Business Administration in the College of Graduate Studies and Research. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the Edwards School of Business and ask that you confer upon them the degree of Masters in Professional Accounting. Kyra Denise Balderson. Dana Bartarsa. Ricky Lee Baudouin. Thomas Andrew Becker. Sebastian Chauncey Winfield Beggs. Ian Conrad Bratton. Yuri Svetoslav Broda. Jordan Nathan Brown. Jeff William Burt. David Marcus Colleran. Rakia Debaji. Mallory Danny Deniston. Sort of close. Tyler Scott Durant. Nikia Marie Lynn Fleischaker. Fletcher Robert Ward Fitzgibbon. Good thinking. Lindsay Denise Frosted. Danielle Ann Heron. Mark Benson Hill. Torley Robin Hislop. Angela Sangun Ku. Oh. Michelle Brianna Kraft. Christopher Harris Kwan. Paul Colin LePage. Alisa Nicole Lockbaum. Matthew Dwayne Lockhart. Sarah Michelle Malo. Jessica Mann. Jeffrey John Martins. Nadeem Mirali. Leslie Ray Mikla. Stephanie Lynn Nagel. Robert Jonathan Neufeld. Kate Isabel Norris. Adrian James Pape. Tricia Ann Paquette. Nick Jens Bolstad Purich. David Robert Emery's Quancy. Cameron David Rusted. Gaith Sarhan. Tiffany Rose Slosher. Christine Helen Seller. Shashi Anand Selvaraj.
Thank you.
Hafiz A. Sharif. Ishanjit Singh. Alan Michael Barry Sklapsky. Darn. Kamila Schlotska. Christopher Thomas Tropman. Braden Joseph Turnquist. Ka Wai Wan. Selena Wong. Stephen Yong. Barrett Wade Zielinski. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Masters of Professional Accounting in the College of Graduate Studies and Research. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the Edwards School of Business and ask that you confer on them the degree of Master of Science in Finance. Garrett Cassidy Meyer. Jing Zhao. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Master of Science in Finance from the College of Graduate Studies and Research.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy and ask that you confer on them the degree of Master of Public Administration. I present Andrea Dale Gibson. Brandon Douglas Grant. Stephanie Lynn Grant. Michał Eugenius Janus. Amy Renee Karakuchuk. Casey Jean Keene. Kellyanne Rose Malco. Lan Wang. Congratulations, you made it. Yiming Wei. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Master of Public Administration in the College of Graduate Studies and Research.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you this scholar from the School of Environment and Sustainability and ask you confer her the degree of Master of Environment and Sustainability. I present to you Jania Saeed Chilima. Please join me in congratulating this recipient of the degree of Master of Environment and Sustainability from the College of Graduate Studies and Research. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars from the School of Environment and Sustainability and ask you confer on them the degree of Master of Sustainable Environmental Management. I present to you Kingsley Kwadwu Ehi. Cynthia Christina Avila. Daniel Jonathan Brent. Charu Gupta. Elisa Chungming Shea. Sarah Lisa Turkelly. Matthew Thomas Aloysius Wolsfeld. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Master of Sustainable Environmental Management in the College of Graduate Studies and Research.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice some movement on the part of the platform party. It's the custom at the University of Saskatchewan convocation ceremonies for PhD graduates, once they've been admitted to their degree by the Chancellor, to be greeted by their supervisor and the Dean of the college in which they studied. The supervisor then escorts the new graduate to join the platform party on stage in a symbolic welcome of the new Doctors of Philosophy into our community of scholars. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Graduate Studies and Research, I present to you these scholars and ask that you confer on them the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Robert Norman Armstrong. Ashley Ann Barlow. Carrie Lynn Esipenko. Tara Nandita Gokavi. John Harley Gow. Stuart Ralph Laird. Kate Pan. Rajavendra Prasad Savada. David Michael Vickers. Jeannie Ethel Wills. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy.
Eminent Chancellor, in the name of the faculties, I ask you to grant the degrees and certificates in absentia to those students who have met the requirements to graduate, but who were not able to be present today.
At the request of the faculties, I authorize these degrees and certificates to be granted.
It's my privilege as the Dean of the College of Arts and Science to present these awards to the college's most distinguished graduates. Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Chester Tye, who will receive 2 awards, the Dean's Medal and the 2011 University Medal in Social Sciences. The Dean's Medal is awarded annually at Fall Convocation to the most distinguished graduate, selected from among the recipients of the Rose Littman Medal in the Humanities, the University Medal in the Social Sciences, the University Medal in the Sciences, or the University Medal in the Fine Arts. The University Medal in Social Sciences is awarded to the most outstanding graduate in a social science discipline. This year's recipient of both awards is Chester Tye, who graduates today with a BA Honours degree with high honours in psychology. Born and raised in Saskatoon, Chester began his first year in the College of Arts and Science in the fall of 2007. He has worked as a research assistant, technician, honors student, and laboratory volunteer for the past 3 years. Chester's laboratory work developed his interest in psychological research and working with animals. One of his professors describes Chester as a scholar, writer, and researcher who is independent and humble. His excellent grades enabled him to secure funding from the NSERC Undergraduate Research Award Program during the summers of 2009 and 2010. Chester won second prize at the 2010 NSERC Undergraduate Poster Session, and he recently volunteered to co-organize the Department of Psychology's yearly research conference for honors students. Chester has been the recipient of a University of Saskatchewan Scholarship and the Orange Benevolent Society of Saskatchewan Educational Scholarship. Chester co-authored a paper published in an international peer-reviewed journal, and he is currently working on a first authored manuscript summarizing recent findings that acute stress significantly enhanced the ability of rats to recognize a change in strategy to obtain food reward. Chester enjoys spending time with youth and children with mental and physical disabilities, and he volunteered for the Saskatchewan Abilities Council for 3 summers. Chester's career plans are to work for the health and welfare of humans and animals. He is also interested in continuing a career in scientific research, perhaps through graduate school or by working for a private research company or a public research agency. I am pleased to present Chester Tye with the Dean's Medal and the University Medal in the Social Sciences. Congratulations. Here they are, both of them to you, and we'll get our photographs taken. Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, the University Medal in the Sciences is awarded annually at fall convocation to the most distinguished graduate receiving a Bachelor of Science 4-year or honors degree or certificate in the natural sciences. It is my pleasure to present this award to Branislav Strakovich, who graduates today with a BSc 4-year degree with a major in geography with great distinction. Branislav came to Canada from Serbia in 2002, and he is married with 1 son. Branislav also holds a Bachelor of Applied Science in Electronic Systems Engineering from Simon Fraser University, is a Microsoft Certified Professional, and earned a Diploma in Computer Engineering from the Electrical Engineering College of Belgrade. Branislav is an engineer in training with the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan. Earlier this year, he won the Canadian Association of Geographers 2011 Undergraduate Award, which is presented to the most outstanding students graduating in geography honors and majors programs in Canada. Branislav also won the Griffith Taylor Prize in Geography in 2010. Instructors in the Department of Geography and Planning comment that he was often the top student in his class and was an excellent participant in field classes, not solely interested in learning the tools and techniques, but also the concepts and applied aspects of the course material. One professor from the Department of Geography and Planning notes that Branislav's academic record and comments from his instructors create a picture of a dedicated student who through natural ability and hard work excelled in our BSc program. Branislav enjoys bicycling, hiking, horseback riding, and spending time with his family. He used to volunteer at St. Paul's Hospital. In the future, he has a strong interest in a career combining engineering and geography, especially in the fields of measuring devices, GIS and database applications, hydrology, and environmental protection. Eminent Chancellor, I am very pleased to present Branislav Strakovich as this year's winner of the University Medal in the Sciences. Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, this medal is awarded to the most outstanding graduate in a fine arts discipline. It's the University Medal in Fine Arts. This year's recipient is Derek Clifford Sandbeck, who graduates today with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with a major in studio art with great distinction. Derek currently works as an artist in Montreal, and so unfortunately he could not be here today, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about him. Born in Saskatchewan, Derek has worked in different fields such as freelance and contract painting and construction, as a commercial photographer, and as a high school teaching assistant. For the last 2 years, he has worked as a studio photo technician and also traveled to Nicaragua for a photography project. Derek has received several awards and scholarships, including the 2011 Saskatchewan Association of Broadcasters Award in the Fine Arts, the 2009 Simon Chang and Phyllis Levine Foundation Scholarship, and the 2009 Elizabeth Evelyn Scoley Scholarship. One of Derek's instructors from the Art and Art History Department notes that he is a talented, committed, and outstanding individual, and that his dedicated, original, and perceptive viewpoint has developed his work conceptually. He calls Derek's work creative and prolific, and says Derek combines tradition with contemporary theory. Derek has enjoyed volunteering in the art community with galleries, for shows, and assisting with installations. He enjoys cooking and sports, and he finds that music is important in his life and work. Derek currently works as an artist living in Montreal. He would eventually like to complete a master's degree in fine arts and pursue a career in teaching at the university level. I am very pleased to acknowledge Derek Clifford Sandbeck as the recipient of the University Medal in Fine Arts. Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, the Rose Littman Medal in the Humanities is awarded annually at Fall Convocation to the most distinguished graduate receiving a Bachelor of Arts 4-year or honors degree or certificate in the humanities. It was established in honor of the late Rose Littman with donations from her friends and family. This year's recipient is Justin David Fisher, who graduates today with a BA honors degree with high honors in history. Born and raised in Saskatoon, Justin began his study at the College of Arts and Science in 2007, not knowing exactly what he wanted to study. He says that in the last 4 years he fell in love with his history courses and was afforded the opportunity for tremendous personal growth, both at the university and by a 4-week stay at the British School in Rome and a 5-week stay at the Université de Québec à Chicoutimi. One of Justin's professors notes Justin's curiosity concerning different times, places, and cultures, and she describes him as intellectually flexible. Other professors in the history department call Justin the most outstanding student among many fine young scholars in a particular class, and one of the best students in many years. One of Justin's instructors remembers how, when their class was in Rome, Justin gave an excellent oral presentation concerning the Arch of Constantine in front of the monument itself, that he was able to engage his classmates despite the considerable noise of Rome, and the tourists also listened to him and snapped photos. Other instructors in the history department have described Justin as motivated, willing, and eager to learn, a model student. On the Dean's List for 2 years in a row, Justin was awarded the John and Mendel Woodley Award in 2009, the College of Arts and Science Honor Scholarship in 2010, and the James H. Gray Essay Prize in 2011. He has presented at academic conferences, and he has worked at the U of S for the Departments of History, Languages and Linguistics, and Plant Sciences. He was vice president of the History Undergraduate Students Association, and he was a peer mentor for the University Learning Center. He also volunteered for Experience Us and the Greystone Scholars Spend a Day. Justin helped to found the Treasures of the Earth Junior Empowerment Program, and for 3 years he co-directed weekly sessions for youth based around community service and literacy skills. Justin enjoys sports, playing guitar, and traveling. In the future, Justin would like to travel more, pursue graduate studies, and work abroad. He would also like to benefit the communities that have given him so much through his academic pursuits, while seeing the world and learning as much as he can about it along the way. Eminent Chancellor, I am pleased to present Justin David Fisher as this year's winner of the Rose Littman Medal in Humanities. Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, it is with pleasure that I present the recipient of the Fall Convocation 3-year medal, which is awarded to the graduating student in a College of Arts and Science 3-year degree program with the most outstanding record. And this is presented to Anish Stephen Mann, who graduates today with a Bachelor of Science 3-year degree in biochemistry with great distinction. You'll be hearing more about him shortly. Anish began his university studies in the College of Arts and Science in 2008 with a first major of biochemistry and a minor in mathematics. He showed a great interest for research, resulting in co-authorship of a published academic paper and a manuscript submitted for publication. Anish was awarded numerous awards and scholarships during the course of his degree. Some of these included the NSERC University Undergraduate Student Research Award in both summers of 2009 and 2010, the Dean's Honors List in 2009 and 2011, the College of Arts and Science Undergraduate Scholarship, and the University of Saskatchewan Chancellor's Catherine Quinn Scholarship, to name just a few. Anish's volunteer experience, community services, and extracurricular activities are extensive. He volunteers for the Student Wellness Initiative Towards Community Health, or SWITCH, and the Patient and Family Care Experience Program. He was also a Greystone Scholar volunteer tutor and a volunteer tennis instructor. Anish's extracurricular activities include competitive tennis, soccer, and piano performance. Anish is described by one of his students as personable, cheerful, and humble. This instructor notes that Anish has a penchant for sharing his time and talent with others, demonstrated by his participation in workshops such as the Integrated Student Research and Leadership Workshops and the Interprofessional Annual Students Symposium. Anish is currently pursuing a medical degree at the University of Saskatchewan College of Medicine. He aspires to an academic career involving a combination of clinical medicine, teaching, and research. As a result of his work with the Canadian Light Source, he has developed an interest in diagnostic imaging. Born and raised in Saskatchewan, Anish intends on practicing medicine in Saskatchewan and giving back to the community that supported him in his academic and non-academic endeavors. I am very pleased to present Anish Stephen Mann the Fall Convocation 3-year degree medal.
Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure on behalf of the Edwards School of Business to present Lindsay Sanderson with the Goodspeed Award in our Fall Convocation 2011. This is the highest honor we give to graduating students. Let me tell you a little bit about Lindsay. She's a graduate of the Steveston Secondary High School in Richmond, British Columbia in 2002. She arrived at the Edwards School of Business to take a major in the field of management. While in the BCom program, she has been consistently on the Dean's Honor Roll in 2008, 2009, 2010, and she was recipient of the University of Saskatchewan Undergraduate Scholarship. She's involved in volunteer activities, primarily the Children's International Summer Villages, now just called CISV, which I think she wants me to tell a little bit about. CISV is a global network of volunteers of all ages. By encouraging respect for cultural differences, common values, and self-awareness, CISV empowers each participant to incorporate these values into their lives as they become global citizens and strive for a more peaceful world. Young people take an active role in program planning, developing key leadership and communication skills. She's also involved in Global Gathering Place. Her hobbies, and it always astonishes me when recipients of such awards have such developed hobbies. How do you do anything but study, I wonder? She's an avid reader. She spends time at the lake fishing. She's involved in cooking, all that volunteering I was talking about, and she also spends time with her family and friends. Her plans are, well, she's currently working for the Flaman Group of Companies as the Customer Relations Manager. We hope to entice her into taking the MBA at some point in the future. I know we have not seen the last of this talented woman who received our BCom with great distinction a few minutes ago, and now I present her with the Goodspeed Award.
Come on back, Anish. You have already heard about this remarkable young gentleman from Dean Stoichev, and I'm not going to repeat what the Dean said, but I do wish to inform you that the President's Medal is awarded to the undergraduate student with the highest academic standing at Fall Convocation, and Anish is the recipient of that award. I would like to add as well, on Anish's behalf, that he would like to acknowledge his parents, and in particular his brother, for helping him out. Even though they were incredibly busy themselves, they were always willing to support and encourage him during his university studies. And for that, Anish is truly grateful. It's a pleasure for me to present the President's Medal to Anish Mann. Congratulations, Anish.
Eminent Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, each year the College of Graduate Studies and Research acknowledges the work of the faculty of the university through the award of the Distinguished Graduate Supervisor Award. This year the recipient of that award is Dr. Robert Clark. Robert can't be here with us today, but receiving the award on his behalf is Vice Dean Peter Bonham Smith. Dr. Clark is a research scientist with Environment Canada, Prairie and Northern Wildlife Research Centre. He's also an adjunct professor in the Department of Biology. Now, an adjunct professor is an active researcher in the public or private sector who has been granted a special appointment, that of adjunct professor at the University of Saskatchewan. And in naming Dr. Clark as the Distinguished Graduate Supervisor Award for 2011, we are also acknowledging the special contribution that many adjunct professors make to the training of graduate students at the University of Saskatchewan. Dr. Clark is a well-regarded scientist who has published more than 100 peer-reviewed scientific papers and worked with government and non-government agencies across North America on waterfowl and wetland ecology. He's successfully supervised 18 Master of Science students, 7 PhD students, and 5 postdoctoral fellows. Another 3 MSc and 5 PhD students are currently working under his guidance. Dr. Clark is being recognized today not just because of the number of students he's supervised, but for the quality of his supervision. Dr. Clark motivates his students by asking intriguing scientific questions and introducing novel research methods. He leads by example, working long hours and being highly productive. He encourages students to investigate topics about which they are passionate and guides them to discover answers to their own questions. Bob believes that part of his job is to help his students find interesting and fulfilling employment after completing their studies. And his students have gone on to productive careers in university, government, and the private sector. His former students have published over 200 scientific papers in their own right since completing their studies. Bob's reputation as an outstanding supervisor and mentor extends throughout the ecological research community. He maintains an open-door policy which helps students keep momentum in their work. Bob also integrates his students into his family circle. They are frequently invited to gatherings at his home, and former students often stay with Bob's family when they return to Saskatoon to visit. Not only does Bob guide his students towards academic and professional achievements, he stresses the importance of finding a healthy life-work balance. Bob's passion for science and life is contagious. He's had a strong influence on the lives of his students, pushing them to perform at the highest level and encouraging them to achieve their professional and personal goals. In the words of one of Bob's former students, he is the best supervisor one could hope for. Supportive, caring, thoughtful, driven, enthusiastic, and an excellent teacher and research scientist. Eminent Chancellor, honored guests, it gives me great pleasure to present the 2011 Distinguished Graduate Supervisor Award to Dr. Robert Clark.
Universities, by their very nature, are international. Ideas move across borders, and so too do people. At the University of Saskatchewan, one award recognizes exceptional impact by an individual on the internationalization of our campus. The J.W. George Ivany Internationalization Award celebrates outstanding contributions by academic or administrative staff in furthering the process of internationalization at our university. The award has been named after Dr. George Ivany, a former president of the university, who provided significant personal leadership and guided our institution to formalize our commitment to internationalization. The recipient of the George Ivany Award at Fall Convocation 2011 has contributed in remarkable ways to internationalization. That recipient is Dr. Li Zong of the Department of Sociology. Please. Li Zong has initiated and guided one of the U of S's most exciting and far-reaching international partnerships, namely our exchanges and joint programming with Xi'an Jiaotong University in China. The Xi'an Jiaotong partnership includes continuous exchange and collaboration, as well as the development of innovative dual undergraduate and graduate programs. Li Zong originated the idea of the dual degrees and was front and center in the negotiations to bring them about. In addition, Professor Zong has developed contacts to bring more than 150 school principals from China to be trained at the University of Saskatchewan College of Education. He helped set up a joint master's program in education administration between the U of S and Tianjin Normal University. He's assisted the Greystone Choir to tour in China and made connections for the Department of Music. Professor Zong has also supported knowledge transfer and policy development. Through his tireless efforts and excellent relationships in China, Professor Zong instituted international conferences where U of S faculty members have shared their expertise at 6 different Chinese universities. And most recently, he's helped facilitate the creation of a Confucius Institute at the University of Saskatchewan. This institute has been developed in partnership with the Beijing Institute of Technology, and Dr. Zong is going to be the founding director of that institute. That is a remarkable series of contributions. There are many skills and attributes that make a person successful in connecting across national boundaries, but high among those for Professor Zong is what one of his colleagues has called his unwavering commitment and warm friendship. Professor Zong is a very generous person who is always eager to help. Li is the most genuinely and relentlessly kind, caring, considerate, and helpful individual I know, one of his colleagues writes. He invariably places the needs and interests of others ahead of his own. There appear to be no limits to what he's willing or able to do to help people achieve their goals and to forge good working relations. The characteristic that most strongly represents Li's personality, one person writes, is the way in which he is able to make friends in virtually any situation. I have seen him numerous times engaging in lively and convivial conversation with people whom it turns out he has just met, though it appears they have been lifelong friends, whether university presidents, service workers, cab drivers, students, or government officials. It is his unwavering personal engagement that has enabled Li Zong to have such an impact on our university. Today we honor him at Convocation as the 2011 recipient of the J.W. George Ivany Internationalization Award.
Good morning. I'd like to invite Dr. Nola Buer to please join me at the podium. Eminent Chancellor, Mr. President, platform participants, graduates, and guests, it is my pleasure to present the University of Saskatchewan's Award for Distinction in Outreach and Engagement to Dr. Nola Buer. Dr. Buer is a chartered accountant and professor of accounting at the University of Saskatchewan's N. Murray Edwards School of Business. In January 2010, she was appointed Potash Corp Enhancement Chair for Saskatchewan Enterprise. Dr. Buer's outreach and engagement endeavors have been described as a web of activity, a web that is intricately created by her hard work and dedication, a web that has a singular purpose: to maximize her contributions and increase her impact on the accounting profession. At the risk of oversimplifying Dr. Bure's efforts, she champions the cause of standardizing governance and accountability in Aboriginal communities and on all levels of government. But her end goal is not just clean books. The goal in all of Dr. Bure's work is economic well-being and prosperity in communities. Proper governance, accountability, and fiscal transparency are the precursors necessary to accomplish this end. Education is a key to this prosperity, and Dr. Bure was the architect and champion of an articulation agreement between the Edwards School of Business and the Aboriginal Financial Officers Association of Canada. This agreement, which was signed in November 2010, opens paths for the association's certificate holders to obtain their Bachelor of Commerce through the school, a significant step in advancing Aboriginal higher education and empowering First Nations communities. Dr. Bure played a significant role as a researcher and co-author of Financial Reporting by First Nations, published in 2008. This report recommends First Nations communities adopt generally accepted accounting principles similar to those of governments, and is considered the canonical reference for financial reporting initiatives for First Nations enterprises. Transfer of the knowledge contained in the report is an important part of Dr. Bure's outreach and engagement. She literally took the report on the road to help First Nations communities understand the new standards and determine what it meant for First Nations governments. Her workshops reached over 800 First Nations financial managers. She also became a key resource to assist the Government of Canada in determining the implications of the new standards for the government in the administration of agreements with First Nations. These new standards and transparency have enabled First Nations communities to access capital markets, financial opportunities, and revenue streams that would not be possible, at least to their full potential, if not for good governance and accounting standards. Dr. Bure has also made significant contributions to several audit committees, namely the Canadian Heritage Audit Committee, the Indian and Northern Affairs Audit Committee, and the Province of Saskatchewan Audit Committee, to the extent that the Treasury Board of Secretariat stated her contributions have benefited all federal departments. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the recipient of the University of Saskatchewan's Award for Distinction in Outreach and Engagement, Dr. Nola Bure.
Brian Bill O'Crelly, please join me. Infinite patience, diplomacy, inventiveness. They're admirable qualities in any employee, but they are exemplified by this gentleman, Brian Bill O'Crelly, who has what some describe as one of the most challenging jobs at the University of Saskatchewan: oversight of the institution's space and capital assets. As Director of Institutional Capital Planning in the Office of Institutional Planning and Assessment, Brian is responsible for ensuring everyone has appropriate space to work, study, and learn, and that space is used efficiently and effectively in support of the university's goals and priorities. You can just imagine what that job involves. It involves juggling many projects at once, often in the face of conflicting and contradictory priorities and deadlines. Considered the go-to person when it comes to capital issues at the U of S, he is admired as much for his tact and integrity as he is for his encyclopedic knowledge of every hallway, classroom, partition, nook, and cranny on campus. Mr. Bill O'Crelly joined the U of S in 1976 after completing a BA in Geography and History, doing his graduate work and serving as a teaching assistant in the Department of Geography. His first position was Assistant Space Inventory Officer in what was called the Department of Planning and Engineering, Buildings and Grounds. He moved from there to the Space Administration Office and has continued to progress through the organization to his current post. Among his first tasks in his present office was to inventory and evaluate the university's space needs on a strategic basis. One of his most significant contributions in this area was the development of a submission and approval process that helps both project sponsors and administrative leaders track various projects and ensures everyone receives information in a timely manner. Brian is also credited with having had an important role in designing the university's first multi-year capital plan, its annual capital plan, and a strategic campus space plan that will provide a time-sensitive model for determining space allocations. Considering the strong views often associated with space issues, it is fair to describe Mr. Bill O'Crully's job as demanding, but not so demanding that it takes time away from his other passions in life, his wife, daughters, and family, and recreational sports, including curling, hockey, and golf. Brian's nominators agree that he meets all of the criteria for the President's Service Award, in addition to enhancing the work environment by providing extraordinary services to the university. He has been and continues to be an inspiration to others. Over his 35-year career, Mr. Bill O'Crully has made major contributions to the University of Saskatchewan, each marked with professionalism and humility. I am proud to present the President's Service Award for the fall of 2011 to Mr. Brian Bill O'Crully.
Eminent Chancellor, Mr. President, platform guests, graduates, family, and friends. As President of the University of Saskatchewan Alumni Association, it is my very happy honor to congratulate the class of 2011 and welcome each of you as our association's newest members. Since the first class of 7 graduates in 1912, our alumni presence has grown to over 135,000 alumni worldwide. This week, we will welcome almost 1,000 graduates to our alumni family, a family with a storied history of excellence, leadership, and distinguished service in a variety of fields. Our family includes a Canadian Prime Minister, Nobel Prize winners, award-winning authors and artists, groundbreaking researchers, successful business executives and entrepreneurs, accomplished athletes, and community leaders at every level. You are indeed in good company, and deservedly so. You are the next generation of alumni who will confidently carve your own path and add important chapters to the story of a great university over a century in the making. As you embark on new endeavors and build your careers, be sure to draw on your fellow alumni. Remember the role that this institution has played in your life, and make a conscious effort to keep in touch. But most importantly, display the degree you've received today with pride, wherever you are, to let the world know that you are a difference maker and a leader. Each one of you now has the knowledge and tools to make a difference, and we can't wait to see what you do next. And so on behalf of all of us who have crossed a stage like this before you, a very warm welcome and a heartfelt congratulations. Welcome to the University of Saskatchewan alumni family.
This brings our convocation ceremony to a close, but before we do, I would like to thank a number of people. First, Darren Oler-King and the University Wind Orchestra. Thank you. Our vocalist, Jeremiah Scott. Elder Walter Linklater. Our signer, Sue Schmidt. And Danielle Redoulier, Convocation Coordinator, and all the members of her team in making these ceremonies a success. Finally, to the graduates, enjoy today and your success. You have acquired an important key to your future, but your degree is not your only acquisition today. It comes with other important but less tangible benefits which have shaped you and will contribute to who you are in the future. For the rest of your life, you will retain a treasure of memories of your time at the University of Saskatchewan, of faculty who made a difference, of your fellow students, and experiences, some enriching, and even if a few were sometimes dubious, you were always learning. You are an alumnus of a proud and successful university. Take that legacy with you wherever you go. The University of Saskatchewan is the bond that unites us all because we've all been touched in one way or another by our experiences as part of the university. Those who came before us established this bond. Now I ask you to help ensure that it remains strong in the future. I ask you now to please remain seated until the platform party has left the stage.